Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer brought to you by Forge College. Have you ever stood awkwardly at a cash register just staring at a tiny terminal while it flashes a super slow, agonizing processing message, and then you're waiting days for the transaction to actually clear your bank? Yeah, we've all been there. It is the absolute worst. Legacy systems are just so clunky, incredibly slow, and completely packed with middlemen who all want to take a cut. But today, we're looking at exactly how to fix that. We're diving straight into Solana Pay fundamentals and USDC payment flows. We're going to completely decode Web3 retail from the exact second a customer decides they want an iced coffee all the way down to that final split-second cryptographic settlement. By the way, this is part of our broader look into implementing Solana Pay for merchant solutions within the stablecoins, payments, and real-world assets track of the Solana ecosystem course. Okay, let's get into it. So to really grasp how we do this securely, we're going to bridge some concepts from our previous lesson, optimizing efficiency and security for bundlers, with what we're looking at today. In that last session, you might remember, we explored how a bundler makes sure a transaction isn't accidentally processed twice. They rely heavily on idempotency and observability. Well, today, we're taking those exact same operational controls and mapping them directly onto a physical retail environment. We want to see how merchants can securely accept stablecoins, specifically USDC, right on Solana. Because just like a bundler needs to absolutely prevent double processing, a merchant has to prevent double charging a customer for a single transaction, right? We're taking our focus off the abstract infrastructure and moving it right to the actual cash register. Here is our blueprint for today. 1. The sealed envelope analogy. 2. Core architecture. 3. The $4.50 coffee. And 4. Reconciliation reality. Kicking things off with Section 1, the sealed envelope analogy. Okay, I want you to imagine walking into a physical store. The cashier hands you a paper invoice for what you owe. In our Web3 world, that invoice is basically the payment URI. Now, attached to that physical invoice is a highly specific, totally unique tracking sticker. That's our reference key. So you, the customer, place your cash in a sealed envelope and hand it over. That action perfectly mirrors your crypto wallet cryptographically signing the transaction. Finally, the cashier takes that sealed, tracked envelope and drops it into a massive steel safe in the back room. That safe, that's the merchant's associated token account, or ATA. Now think about it. A safe completely full of unmarked envelopes would be a literal nightmare for an accountant, right? They'd have the money, but absolutely no idea who bought what. So the blockchain acts like this ultra-secure, time-stamped security camera. It takes an indisputable snapshot of the envelope dropping into the safe, with that crucial tracking sticker perfectly visible so the accountant can easily log it later. Make sense? Let's move on to Section 2, core architecture. So let's break down the 5 actual gears and levers that turn this physical analogy into a digital reality. First up, we've got the payment request URI. This is the pure intent of the transaction, literally just who is getting paid and how much. Second is the customer wallet, acting as the definitive signer. Your wallet holds your private keys and basically says, yep, I authorized this transfer. Third is the SPL token program. Honestly, think of this as the unbreakable, totally unbiased engine of the blockchain. Instead of Visa or MasterCard taking a fat 3% cut to move your money, the SPL token program just executes the transfer programmatically, based strictly on the rules of the network. Fourth is our destination, the merchant's associated token account, the digital safe where the USDC actually lands. And finally, number 5, that reference key we just talked about. It's the ultimate reconciliation anchor that lets a business perfectly match a random string of blockchain code to your specific physical receipt. You know, the true magic of this entire architecture is actually the payment URI itself. Why? Because it is entirely stateless. In traditional Web 2 commerce, when you scan a code or tap your phone, your app has to frantically ping a central server, ask for permission, wait for a database lookup, maybe pass the security token, back and forth. It's this whole complex API handshake just to figure out what you're even trying to buy. But with Solana Pay, the URI cleanly encapsulates the entire intent right there. It doesn't need to talk to the merchant server first. Any compliant wallet can just scan it, read it, and instantly know exactly who to pay, what token meant to use, and exactly how much to send. It is elegantly simple, requires zero network overhead before the transaction, and is incredibly fast for the user. All right, Section 3, the $4.50 coffee. Let's make this real. Let's map all this architectural theory onto an everyday scenario, say buying an iced latte. Imagine a simplified URI generated for an actual invoice. We'll call it INV-2026-07-001. The merchant's backend creates the invoice and derives a unique reference public key specifically for this one single cup of coffee. The URI packages everything up into a clean, machine-readable string. You can see it dictates the protocol, Solana. It specifies the amount, 4.5. It calls out the exact SPL token, pointing directly to the official USDC mint address, just to be absolutely sure you aren't paying with some random counterfeit token. And crucially, it embeds that unique reference key. It's essentially a perfectly packaged digital bill, totally ready for the wallet to consume in a fraction of a second. When the barista flips that screen around, paying for your coffee is this completely frictionless four-step dance. First, you, the customer, simply scan the QR code containing that stateless URI, no typing required. Second, your wallet parses the data and automatically composes the transaction, giving you a simple Approve button. Third, you hit Approve, and the SPL token transfer officially executes on the Solana network. And fourth, the merchant's backend, which is actively listening to the blockchain, spots the transfer and immediately confirms it right on the cash register. From the customer's point of view, you just pointed your phone, tapped a button, and grabbed your drink. Okay, here is a really fun technical quirk happening under the hood during step 2. Blockchains do not process fractions or decimals natively, at all. Everything operates in absolute integers, and because USDC on Solana is programmed to use exactly 6 decimal places, a $4.50 coffee actually costs 4.5 million base units. So when your wallet builds the instruction, it translates 4.5 USD into exactly 4,500,000 base units. Suddenly, buying your morning latte makes you feel like an absolute high roller dropping millions. Pretty funny, right? Now, think about the timeline of legacy finance for a second. A credit card swipe feels instant at the counter, sure, but that transaction actually gets batched overnight, routed through a clearinghouse, and might take 2 to 3 business days to truly settle in the merchant's bank account. On Solana, the timeline from the moment the customer signs the transaction in their wallet to the funds landing in a block is roughly 3 seconds. Let that sink in. Within 3 seconds, the customer signs, the network assigns a unique, immutable signature, and the transaction is permanently etched into a block. The funds are fully settled and immediately available for the merchant to use. Now that is the sheer power of a decentralized, high-throughput network. Which brings us to our final section, number 4, reconciliation reality. The blockchain has done its job flawlessly, moving funds in just 3 seconds. But why do merchants care so deeply about this reconciliation stuff? Well, imagine a customer at a packed coffee shop. They scan the QR code and tap Approve, but right at that exact moment, the coffee shop's public Wi-Fi completely hiccups. The customer's app looks like it froze, they panic, and they tap Approve a second time. Without a reference key acting as a deduplication anchor, the merchant might accidentally process both transactions. They double-charge the customer and create a massive accounting headache. But by embedding a unique reference key in the metadata, the merchant system can definitively match both external attempts to a single canonical invoice. It sees the second attempt, recognizes the key, and safely ignores it. Chaos averted. As a developer building these solutions, you've got to manage this massive conceptual divide. The blockchain provides the undisputed mathematical proof of transfer, right? It knows with absolute certainty that 4.5 million base units of USDC move from wallet A to wallet B. But here's the thing. It is a mathematical fortress. It knows absolutely nothing about physical reality. It has no idea what your internal refund policies are. It doesn't know if you literally just ran out of oat milk. And it doesn't understand your complex invoice state machines. It's on you to intelligently build a bridge between that incredibly smart on-chain math and the messy, unpredictable off-chain reality of running an actual retail business. And to build that bridge, you have to lean heavily into the concepts of idempotency and observability we talked about before. In a retail context, an idempotency anchor ensures that no matter how many times a user frantically clicks pay because of a laggy connection, your backend only registers a single successful purchase for that specific cart. You securely map your internal invoice identifiers directly to the blockchain's reference keys. You then use those keys to maintain highly structured audit logs, making sure every single dollar is accounted for. And finally, you have to constantly monitor confirmation commitments, so your point-of-sale system knows exactly when a payment is actually safe to consider final. Speaking of confirmation commitments, your specific risk tolerance as a business owner totally dictates your back-end actions here. On Solana, a confirmed block means a supermajority of the network has voted on it. It's extremely fast, taking just seconds, but technically in incredibly rare edge cases, it could be reversed.
So, if you're selling a low-risk item like a cup of coffee, you can safely hand over the drink immediately upon seeing a confirmed block. The risk of reversal is functionally zero for a $4 item. But if you're a high-risk merchant shipping expensive electronics across the country, you are definitely going to wait a few more seconds for a finalized block. Finality means absolute, irreversible cryptographic certainty. Once a block is finalized, it is computationally impractical to revert. You wait for that absolute certainty before you ever put a $2,000 laptop in the mail. For sure. So let's wrap up our journey today. We started with the physical analogy of placing a tracked envelope into a safe. We then mapped that right onto the digital reality, where payment intent is cleanly and instantly captured in a stateless URI, completely eliminating the need for complex, slow Web 2 API handshakes. We saw how the actual execution happens, powerfully and affordably, via the SBL token program, entirely bypassing legacy financial middlemen. And finally, we explored how your business reconciliation relies completely on tying transaction signatures together with your reference keys to bridge the gap between pure mathematics and physical inventory. That combination right there is the canonical proof you need to run a flawless, lightning-fast Web3 storefront. Now that you deeply understand the architecture, the speed, and the incredibly seamless USDC payment flows, I have a provocative question for you to think about. Are you ready to finally stop relying on legacy Web 2 payment processors and write your own merchant integration code? Seriously, why wait? On behalf of Forge College, I want to thank you so much for joining this explainer. I highly encourage you to head over to forge.college to dive into our next lesson, where we're going to get our hands dirty and actually build this exact integration, step by step in code. Go check out forge.college to learn more about this and other amazing Web3 topics. Thanks for learning with us today, and I'll see you in the code.